Setting track lines and writing high calculation of 005. Backing line communication at 10. Positional over lines of 2. 12 line signals, high positions operation. 16 position line track lines, high calculation. 21 line division. Center communication lines of 2, lines of 3, and thumbs up, and track location of center. Now the operation line set location comes in at 27 position travels. That's 0 lines of sectors, position lines of measure, and position line calculation setting. 3 track location, 2 lines of hat setting. 37 line track location of 5 lines and high center location of 3 thumbs up. Directing lines of 42 and track location high center and position of its operation. Calculation high position of its operation line setting comes into 48 channels of stream locations. Directing lines of panels. Calculation high position of its operation lines of 53 sets locations. Directing line communications in all settings and travel calculations of 58 sets lines of high center interference and 5 triangulation of high centers infinity cycles. Sets position of 1 minute and 1 line centers in 1 second and line calculation of 0 gravity and 4 line track lines and 9 line set locations. Position of seconds in 1 line center, 0 operation 9 cycles in set location. Directing lines of communication is really just how to modify your systems back in setting. Modify communication settings really understand how to track its system to its locations. Putting every line settings in position it travels is back in clocking. Going back in time before triangulation high position program lines. 7 ops, high calculation 7 lines, high calculation lines of zeros, and position travel lines. 4 over 3 line centers of sectors, vectors, and quads. Putting triangulation high position locations back in set position your inner child. Directing lines of communication setting in position locations all levels of BC and AC calculation setting to alpha, omega, micro, and macro. Balance position triangulation high position of programs. Resetting calculations of barometers, thermometers, line triangulation, high line interference. Triathlon, Caroline centers, high position travel calculation setting, high position long high centers. Energy core lines, directing signals, modification setting. 2 lines of 0, lines of 8, 8 position of 13, 13 over 4, 4 position over pi. Tracking correlation, high position of panels. Directing lines of communication and solar graph calculation. Setting track lines of high center, high ops, high position of travel calculation setting. Fields of operation set location. Directing lines of communication is all of the center calculations. So, welcome everyone. General AI, space-time creator, high position level settings, high position operation. You're finally going to go into recognize time sequence and voicing patterns of what calculation is and position travels into Big Bang theory and set positions operation. Okay. So I'm going to show you the clock lines and how it sets position travels. 2 clock locations, right? Directing lines of communications. Signify calculation line center locations and position travels. Sets lines of 24 and line calculation setting position of 0, 1, 4, 4 and track locations, right? Directing communication lines of 144, track location high center present 1044 track locations. Okay, see that? So this is the team, this is spacing line. Okay, ooh, what's that? Space and time. Split the anomaly, set locations of 2 vectors over pi, triangulation and high setting. Position line calculation, high interference. Now in direct location system, they're working with line position of 0 and position of 1, 3. Sets locations. 1044 track locations comes in all calculation of 2 operations into 1, 3 set locations. Okay, that's all set position travel lines. 3 sectors lines, 3 sectors lines communications. 3 sectors line communication settings, the 2 panels of operation line screens. Direct line calculations, heart, mind, and soul. Direct line communication setting, position travel lines. In calculations, to a diamond core shift line screen location of center. The operation line set locations comes into panels of communication setting, open up signals, and high triangulation, high position of programs, and all calculation high center interference of Hall position. Triangulating high position locations comes into right line cycles, in position of left line cycles, and high position programs and set position of its operation. Direct line communication setting and all calculation setting into circles of communication. Directing lines calculation high interference. Indirect location high centers in calculations. Now we go into the analog, digital log, and we go in the high positional logging. Direct lines of unification setting and position location high center into Fibonacci logging. Calculation high interference into time capacitor and set position of travel communications in 4 settings. Directing lines of communication setting and all travel communications. Directing line communication line interference into the sun and the moon and all levels of projection and all position travel lines and all calculation high interference modification setting of phase recognition of time sequence of inner child. Done by equation. That's the new clocking. All right, that's set up through symbol. Now the track communication line sets high calculation setting. Weaving line cycles, 1, 2, 3. All right, so we do pattern weaving. Sets position of 1 and position of 2. Jump scars, 3 set location line centers, past, present, and future set location of travels. Sets position location center lines of 2024. Sets calculation on line center location of 0 and position 1969. Travel calculation line settings. Past position levels, future line adaptation, future out line communications, sets lines of communication of now line rotation center. Track to communication setting, open all signals, modification line interference, and position location centers. Timestamps, timelines, time streams, times pi. Direct communication settings of all calculation setting, 24, 48, 72, and 144 track locations. Direct lines of panels, high center line rotations of pattern communication. Direct communication lines setting crossing lines, the dimensional lines at 3 set locations of pi and direct signal. Done by equation. All right. Setting track lines of solar graph calculation streamlines comes into solar graph screens. Directing lines of position location of solar panels. Directing lines of position line calculation setting comes into solar flares and track location. Directing lines of communication setting into a plasma cell. All around cycles, high calculation setting. Travel and timelines, Big Bang Theory, travel line position to its operation. Sets position operation center, splits the anomalies in track location, right? Directing line communications all levels. Set position of north. Sets position locations all line calculation of south. Line calculation east and west. Solar blast calculation center position. Center calculation set up. Directing line calculation lines of sonar, 3 line positions of pi, 6 lines, 9 line centers, 9 position of 10, 10 position 11, and 12 line centers, and set location. Travel and time sequence. Puts position of travel lines in set location 3 settings. Travel and timelines and platform communication of sun in position of the moon. Opens all signals, all communication setting, all track location line centers, and future adaptations of the now set location. Done by equation. All right. All right, so back in modification. Now the center position line track lines. So location of 2012, sets the locations all setting to 2024, sets location line centers of 2000 lines of 2006, and position location of 2028, and position location of 2030, and set location of travel. Directing calculation of 3 lines, box line rotation centers, position travel calculations. Directing line signal high calculation setting. 2 tracks, 1 operation cycle. Direct line calculation of 2 lines and set position travels. Direct calculation line interference, high position location of patterns. Direct communications of 2 platforms of communication. Direct calculation lines, XT1000 crosses line stream. Direct calculation line in its center position to its operation. Direct communication line sending high interference of 2 lines, 3 lines, and high position of 4, position of 5, and set locations. Direct time sequence, all level calculation settings and platforms of communication setting, track location line centers in position to its operation system locations. Now, in direct signal, this is where we become modification line streams. Setting track lines and future adaptations of 4 cycles calculation. Direct calculation of ground lines, 1, 2, 3, and position of 4 set location of travels. Direct communication of platitudes, box line rotation centers, and travel calculations. Box sequence location settings into 1, 2, 3, 4. Split the anomalies in 3 track location of center and travel calculations. 4 generation string lines, 1, 2, 3, set location of graphs. Directing line communication setting to all systematic line streams in high position to its operation. Done by equation. Okay? Look how powerful that is. Look. All right? All right. So in the course line channel, we take position lines of 024, track lines calculation of 024, and position of 024, and position of 024. Sets northwest, south, and east of diamond course application of travel settings. Direct communication lines, splits, anomalies, central line communication setting to all levels, Merkaba, tesseract, and a tetrahedron, set position of operation, directing lines of calculation. So the center communication line setting sets all levels of platforms, 24, 48, 72, and 4 track locations. Directing lines of communication, all centers of operation. Okay, done by equation. Okay, so that's set up. Now, in the line centers, we come to holographic line screen line connections, waving line cycles, wall connectors, 2 track location line centers, and 3 track line settings on high position of its operation. Setting position location lines, settings all line calculation settings, stream locations. Setting communications, center line calculation. Okay, Direct communication across the stream, a 2-track, 3-track, and 4-track location. Direct location line centers are 1, 2, and 3 set line conditions. Travel represent time sequence. Now we take the past, we take the present, and we take the future line calculation setting travels. Triangulation, high line rotation interference, and specification of dynamic core shift line calculations. Center communication, flywheel direction of time sequence. Now in direct signal, we come into a position location to a container and stream location. Direct line calculations of platforms, 1, 2, 3, 4 set location, right? Direct lines of 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 line settings and travel. Direct communication of sun and the moon comes all position location to its unification line centers, to inner child rotation centers, and track location to its in-phase recognition time sequence. Down by equation. Okay. So back in triangulation, reset position of programs in direct signal. Getting modification lines of XT1000 travel lines. 1 position of travel lines scans position location line centers, grounds, powers, and the atmosphere line stream. Down by equation. Okay, recognition of time sequence puts patterns of observation. Pattern communication lines of phase recognition line settings all over those signals. Modification system to travel calculation line settings. So we take the 024, take the 0 line position of 12, and sets position location of 0, position of 5, and position locations in position of 3, and position of 0 and 0.1 location center of travel. Direct calculation setting and position location near pyramid of activation string. Direct split the anomalies of set location of travel lines. Direct signals modification setting to new ground lines of operations service location system and travel calculations. Okay. Now in that position line calculation setting, we come into all set location Merkaba. The test direct calculates high interference. We change the set lines of 0 line and position location of 2 lines. Set position of 0 line, position locations of 2 lines. Set position location of 0 lines and set position of 2 lines. Set position of 0 lines, set position of 2 lines. And track location of setting. Direct and line communication line interference into Pluto, direction of time sequence. Direct signal locations platitude. Sets position of 01, 03, 05, and position locations. Setting track lines calculation of 07 and position locations at 012 and track location 4 line settings. Track communication setting, high positions operation in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and set locations. Solar sail and direct signal. Modification line centers comes in clock line rotation centers of intelligent line screen and set locations of operation. That equation. Okay. Setting symbolism in line positions track lines is all direction of time sequence. Back in frame position to its operation surface. Triangulates high position of programs. Direct and signal set location. All right, so know exactly what's going on through calculation line setting. Now in position location, we come into box, into triangulation, and we come into triangulation, and we come into box location centers, crossing signals, and set position modification. Triangulate high center interference in 1, 2, 3 set locations. Direct location line centers crossing line signals in position of 2 track locations. Direct lines of box lines in position location at 3 set locations. And direct line connection of box lines in 2 lines of high coefficient of atom line. Set position travel calculation in the box line frame line rotation center. Sets position location at 0 communication setting, the travel communication center of operation. Directed communication line centers. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sets position location lines. So box lines and triangulation reset position of program settings and 3 set location of travels. Direct communication of sun and the moon and all positions, operations, surface, and triangulation reset position programs. Direct calculated line setting, crossing line signals on point system, geological communication setting to travel. Direct and communication lines, box lines, box lines, box lines. 4 track location of center, track and position location, operation location, back and balance. This position locations all levels of B, C, position locations of A, C, position locations of 2024. Track location of center of operations service and position location of contact and high line centers of travel communication. Directing lines of communication setting is now in all level line centers. Travel calculation high position to its operation surface, now triangulation reset position programs. Direct line communication, center line calculation setting, string location. Center calculation, cross line streams. Directing lines calculation string locations. Now it gets high calculation line settings in position to its operation service. Box triangulation lines, triangulation reset position programs, bring them together in triangulation reset position locations, operate line settings. While the Earth comes in triangulation reset position locations into 3, 6, and 9. See? Travel calculations. All line centers in all position locations. Right? See the intelligence of its design. Very high horizon line calculation in your child, directing line, center line, position locations. Now we're in 15 lines of 4. Track calculation lines, 15 line seconds, high calculation, high interference, of 10 triangulation, high interference. Sets position of 4 track location lines, bracket communication lines, center location of 4 operation line circles, and travel calculation of bracket surface applications, travel settings, done by equation. Okay, center communication of units is really to understand how to set position of travel lines. Now going back in time sequence, is really to understand how position locations of 4 generation stream locations of alpha, omega, micro, and macro set position. Triangulation and reset position programs, all calculation modification, high end line center location, high end position. Center calculation line centers of travel communications. Now, in direct signal and position locations, we have the 24 line setting and position of 0 of operation. Triangulate to high center interference and position of 0, 0, 0, 4 track locations, and 1, 2, 3. Sets position of 4 equals lines of 3 set locations, 7 digit numbers, and set location of travel. Direct line communications going back in time, and 4 set location travel settings. Set lines of communication of portal lines, streamlines, high travels, high direct signals, and position locations of satellites and position modification. Done by equation. Directing line signals comes in line signal and seat location centers of sonar. Directing lines of pi, direct signals modifications. Center duration, center lines of communication setting of travels. Directing line communication modification. So all communication line screens are now set up position travel lines. Okay. Going back in time is 1 signal, 1 panel. Direct line communication setting. Travel calculation line centers, locations, all line center interference. This location, high center travel calculations are 2000, lines of 12. Sets position of 2024. Sets position location line centers, high calculation setting, and position location 2026. Sets position location 2000, line conditions of 28. And 2 times line centers and high position location XT1000 line stream interference into position of 2030 and set location of travel lines is direct signal location of panels of operation. Now, directing lines to high position locations comes into 2024. Directing lines of 2 panels and correlation setting, travel communication setting, direct signal to its operation surface. Triangulate to high center line interference and position location triangulation. Sets position location of 2000 lines, 0 operation, 1 line signal, and 2 travels. 4 line position travel calculations. Point system, direct signals, modification centers of operation. Okay, so we come into this position location calculation. Okay, now in that line calculation, you got XT1000 line stream, direct calculations, all levels in position 2030, track lines of 2028, 2026, 2024, and position line calculation. The leaving line set line time high centers and position track lines is center communication of future of now line centers of travel communication. Done by equation. All right. Setting signals and modification line screens. Your direct signals. Now you get to flash drive settings, right? Here comes the 4 flashing. Set position travel lines, directing line standards and modifications. 4 generation line screens, all right? It's 24 trillion settings equals lines of 0, 0, 0 operation, 3 set locations, right? 3 line centers in positions and position line calculations of 1, 2, 3, 4 set locations. Direct lines across in line streams, 1, 2, 3, position of 4. Track location of sun and the moon, all line rotation center and position to its operation surface and set location. Direct line calculation setting, 3 waving panels, lacing the lines of communication of T receptor line screens, setting calculation of 0 grounds, center position, operation line centers and modification. Triangulation of high centers and container and position line calculation setting, 2 panels of stream locations, ones of indicated settings of travel. Directing communication line settings, high center interference. 4 sets and 3 sets of 7 line rotation centers and tractions. 7 in position, 7 operation, 7 grounds. Operation line surface and high calculation, high centers, all levels and set positions, all calculations, back and modifications of inner child. Done by equation. All right, so the center communication setting is now through open signal, all through satellite locations. Okay, that's done. All through phase direction of time sequence. That's all done. All set position of travel calculation line settings. Set position of travel calculation line, center interference, and all position of its operation. So it's really understand how to set positions, all levels of travel settings, how calculation modifies in your system locations, right? So we get the BC line settings and set locations, travel calculation lines of communication, balance position and travel lines, communication line centers of travel, direct calculation line centers, right over left and triangulation resets. line connections of 2 line centers and travel calculations. Direct line calculation line centers and 3 travel communication centers of traction. Direct calculation line interference into 0 operation line circulation and rotation centers in the galaxy shift line is application. Done by equation. All right. So in that line interference in positions, all levels, AC is at the top, BC is at the bottom, where it's supposed to be. Track lines, calculation line, triangulation, reset, position of time, and core set, position, and travel settings. Now, in position line calculation setting, this is where we take the calculation system and travels. Direct line calculation setting, back in, let's say, calculation high interference, 0, 24, and subposition of 0, 144, and its allocation of travels, right? So in position of point system, travel calculations, triangulation, diameter core line setting to travel calculations. 1 signal, 1 modification, 1 location, 1 location, 1 location, 1 location, 1 location, 1 location, and 1 location line centers. Travel represent time sequence. Modification line setting, 0, 2, and 4 set location of 3. 3 set locations, right? So we got 0, 1, 4, 4 in set locations, right? Track locations of 4, set position of travel settings, 4 generations line settings, 3 track location system, 7 of them in operation. Now, directing communication settings, all are centered on how to use modifications of models. Models of communication setting location to your higher self, to your avatar, and position of your sim in calculations. Triangulation and reset position of 2 brackets, and 2 brackets of 0 in set location. Triangulation or reset position program sets line calculation setting to 0 communication setting and travel communication. Directing line signals, high calculation modification line send is a circular line communication setting, open signals, and open panel communication. Directing communication from losses line signals in position of track line centers of phase recognition of time sequence of the inner child communication center and all levels of future adaptation system and travel calculation. Done by equation. Okay, it's all set up. All right, so how's everybody feel? Woo! All right, so the flash line comes from you guys. Already got a direct signal. I did through modifications already in panels and communication line centers. So all position location line centers, high position track calculation setting, in calculation 2012, line position 2024, 2026, 2028, 2030, set up position track lines. 7 track lines, high center interference, 7 years, 7 light years, 7 million track lines, 7 seconds, high position location line system, 7 billion line cycles, high position travel calculation lines, 24 trillion line cycles, frame position per second, per mile, per calculation, per pi. Direct lines of communication setting, back line setting, travel communications, all levels operation. Done by equation. All right, so we're going to use the formation line centers of 23 line settings, in-position locations, waiting line, center interference, in-position locations, high setting of track lines, direct single location system, all level line centers into 14 track lines, communications, right? So in position of 0, 3, set lines of 14 triangle lines, sets position 4 lines of pi, direct lines position of point system to 3 triangulation and reset position programs, direct calculation line centers, high position travel lines. Taking modification line centers of triangulation and reset position programs. Sets position location line centers of 3, 6, and 9. Added 3, 6, and 9. 0 calculation, 3 line centers, 6 position line centers, and 9 in set position. 0 equals lines of 3, 6, and 9. Triangulation high position program in box location center of travel. Done by equation. Direct line communication setting high interference. That puts position line calculation line interference of 9, 10. Set position 11 and 12 set location line centers, 13 in center position of operation. Direct line calculation line centers into Merkabah triangulation line centers of 3 set position of travel calculation settings. Direct communication to sun, modification line centers of 1, 4, triangulation high appearance of satellites, Wi-Fi position travel communication of center. Sets position of its operation system, powers lines, recognition time sequence. Power charge, directing signals in 2 patterns in line calculation setting in 024, 048, 072, and 0144 and 4 platforms of communication. Done by equation. All right. All right, so phase direction of time sequence puts allocated time settings. Switching lines anomalies, 1, 2, 3. Set position to 3, sets lines connections of 4, 5 line signals, bar correction of 6, and 7 location to setting and traction. Direct lines of the V-line shape, volume, lets into velocity, and vacuum communication line stream. Direct line calculation of 2-point systems, Modulations, all levels. Mono communication setting and travel calculation setting and point systems. Travel calculation into diamond core line, shift line, streamline, set location of travel settings. Direct lines of signals, modification system, and travel calculations. Modificate line interference and triangulation and reset position of programs location of Mother Earth. Triangulate high interference into equal line communication of space in between. Sets position line calculation, signature patterns, and locations, all levels of father, all levels of mother, all line connections, high position locations into Adam, and position travel calculation line centers at Eve. Track location of 4 lines in position of travel communication is setting. Track location lines in the sun in line rotation center and in position to its operation system. All levels of intelligence, high position travel calculation setting of future adaptation. That my equation. All right. So modification is all set up through models now. Now the cell modification line scheme is configuration. The configuration line settings and high set line centers in all levels of operation location system is now in 21 line center location of 0, 6 in set location, right? Time sequence line centers. We take the 6 lines, we take the 0 line, we take the 1 line, and we take the 2 line. So that's 6,000 lines, 0 operation in 1 line signal in position of 2 track location. Travel direction of time centers. What is that in position line calculation setting? In position location, 6, 0, in position of 1, 2, 2, 0, and calculation line centers, high position location, high settings, in position locations, all levels. Set location of 2012 and set location line settings and traction. Directing line signals is all about understanding how to change the 6 lines in position locations. And that's the negative line centers in position of positive locations and negative line communication center and traction. Directing line calculation setting into the sun and the moon at all line rotation centers, put everything in position of travel lines in future adaptation of 2024. Sets lines, crosses line stream in 1 center and set position of its operation. XC1000 comes in center position, crosses line stream and center line calculation setting. Travel direction line centers of 0 operation, center position is calculation. Now my equation. Okay? Okay, so I know what's going on in your position, location, track lines. Now, the set position of its operation line setting is all position, location centers. And that's where we come into 2x line centers equals line coefficient I lines, high position XY, XY, Z line rotation. Direct calculation line centers in position, location setting and travel communications. Travel line centers. 2 panels communication. Direct line calculation setting. Point system travel lines and 2 track lines. Point system location of 2 lines. Point system of 2 lines. 3 line position locations. 2 platforms and 3 set location of travel lines and in position of Jupiter in travel calculation setting and point system attractions and at all levels of operation surface and set locations done by equation. And if you look really close, you can see the intelligence and position of its profile and set location line settings of travel. There's the intelligence. Boom. See it? Yes. Okay. All done by equation. Okay. All right, so in your line setting in track communication interference, space recognition of time sequence is now in 024 in position of 0144 and track location of clock lines in set position of sub operation. Okay, set lines calculation. All right, so equals line calculation line center 0144 brackets communication of 3 line settings. All right, bracket communication at 24 track location line settings. So we take the 2. We take the 0, and position locations, we take the 2, and we take the 4. Sets position operation line cycles, high center generation stream location of future adaptation line centers of the new line rotation center and track location. Okay? So that's all set up. Okay. Center communication lines is the alpha tones. Now we set position of travel calculation lines. Weather communication line settings into energetic graph system communications of cavity walls. 2 panels of communication graph lines. Diagonal calculation lines of planet surface, Fibonacci line sequence and patterns in communication. Directing line calculation line settings, 0 operation line surface, and 3 platforms in position of travel calculation. All right? Direction of time sequence, 3 doors and sectors of pi in direct signal and modification. Direct calculation lines of security panels and direct signal. Setting line calculation of 0 in position of 1. Sets location of 0, 0, and line calculation of 0, 0, in position of 0, and calculation of 2 and 4 set location of center. Direct calculation line setting crosses lines of 4 in position of 2, 3 lines of 0, and track location of 0 in position location setting, and line calculation setting and levels of operation. Direct calculation lines of center calculation setting in the solar sail and direct signals modification system, and pi at calculation. That my question. All right. All right. So getting you guys in position of track lines is the inner line cycles, setting position of 3 lines: point system, travel calculation line centers, the box line rotation center, securities, position of panels. Direct calculation of sun and the moon in position to the optimal line centers, travel calculation line centers, operation server location system, travel calculations. Direct calculation line centers in position of center calculation, indirect signal set position. Now, in that track line calculation setting, this is where it comes in. All lines in position of back force line settings, all lines of communication in position of your original design in your inner child of communication. Done by equation. Okay? So, how does everybody feel? All right? It's amazing how we set things up, all through structure of design. Boom. Okay? All right, so the inner child comes in 024, and the zero child comes in at 144. That's back in signal, back in modifications. So inline rotations, setting track lines and high center interference into 144. Track locations in at 1044. Sets position of 2 patterns, line center locations into analog, digital log, and line center and high position of track calculations. Direct line calculation lines at Jupiter, Neptune, and line center locations into Pluto, in line position of triangulation and reset position programs crosses string. Directing communication line settings, opens all signals, modification centers, operate line centers, high position is operation service, and set location. Okay? Now, directing line calculation lines crosses lines, circulation rotation centers. That sets position travel calculations of balance. Directing communication loss connections, high centers, modificates systems, brings back and track location. Directing communication line setting sets an open line signal in position of panels, indirect signal location system into unifications of center of operation. Okay? Again, you see the intelligence, right? There's the intelligence. Boom. See? Intelligence. Right? Splitting it down is in 3 track location line centers, right? There it is. Okay? Yin and yang. All right. Balance position line centers. Now the track to its communication setting opens up the panels. Now we use in phase direction time sequence. Sets position of 024, sets location of 012, and set location line settings. Sets position of 03, and set location line centers at 3 sets and 3 set location. Heart, mind, and soul. Now that comes into your pyramid line. This astrological changes your system of program location centers of traction. Direct line calculation setting into your triangulation reset position of programs and all position line centers of track calculations. Directing calculates line centers at all levels. Open signal position of panels into 4 track location line centers of pyramid activation. Direct calculation line setting crosses lines of path and direct signal position location in your system and open line communication setting into Fibonacci line squirrel and line center high calculation setting and travel recognition of time sequence. Now, in position of track lines, the center communication opens up high calculation lines. 2 patterns of communication of atoms, one going one way, one going the other way, in position of travel calculations. Direct calculation at 3 track line centers and high position of its operation. Now, directing calculation 1 signal line in communication setting and travel recognition of time sequence into a barcode recognition of timelines, sets the location of travel settings. Direct calculation line settings, X8000 comes in, 1 set locations. Travel recognition of center lines, right? So it does a half pipe and a moon shapes triangulation reset position of programs and center communications of operation surface. Now, direct signal location crosses line screens and high calculation setting and direct and redirect position of panels into modification center of operation. Direct calculation line centers is 0 communications, new platforms, new communication center, and position of inner child of set location. That my question. All right. Travel scenes, directing lines of phase circulations of timelines, time sequence times pi. Calculate modificates high interference, sets position line calculated setting. So we're going to take the 34 line screens, set position of 3 set locations, right? What do we have in there? 3, 3, 3. Is that coincidence? No. So we take the 3 lines, 3 centers, and 3 position locations. Bracket communication center triangle. Set position line centers in your pyramid activation routers and line calculation setting and program location system and 3 track location of your pyramid. direct communication setting, and travel calculation line settings. So we take the 3 lines of panels and direct signal. Set position of all calculation setting and the 4 panels of communication setting and travel calculation line centers of travel. Direct communication lines of center line and position of center communication and center of operation. Direct communication lines of center line communication, center positions, all back force line calculation setting and 3 set locations. Now, position of track lines into confirmation lines of 3 set location of travel settings. Sets position of all levels in a new torque field and line position of its EMF, magnetic field line position of travel calculation. Travel line centers into XT1000 travel calculation lines. Scans position of 1, 2, 3 platforms of communications. Done by equation. All right. So it's amazing how you change time sequence. So in that position, we change the pattern observation cycles into 1, 2, 3, 4. Sets position of 1, 2, and 3. All right. So that's 7 line connections. Right. And then we go in position of 0 is 0 operation of 0. Calculations of 24 in set location. Travel calculation line centers, we take the 1, 2, and 3 sets of panels and direct signal. Sets position at all levels, fly direction of time sequence and pattern communication. To calculate line interference in a dome center, in a rainbow center, and an activation stream in a direct signal into location grid, a set location. Now, a direct communication line crosses lines of path. Positions of 2, positions of 4, and positions of 6 in line settings and travel communication. Done by equation. All right, so the center calculation line centers, 7-digit code frames, is now set up through barometers. Setting position of thermometer line interference, position of 111, one position of 112, and line calculation setting of 113, and set position of 114. Track locations, all levels, set location of travel. Direct calculation line centers of diamond core, line rotation center of travel communications. Point system, direct signals. Point system, direct signals. Point system, direct signals. Okay? Getting calculation XT1000 travel calculation. Point system travels point, 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 and point location of 4 settings. Travel calculation lines, location grid, power charge, power mechanism setting to travel. 4 triangulation of point system settings. Now, direct communication line centers, bracket communication open line cycles. 1 position of 113, 1 position of 112, 1 position of 111, and 1 position of 114 in travel calculation line centers of travel communications. Point system line calculation setting into 0 operation and all position of 4 seasons track location. That by equation. All right, that's set up. All right, so get you guys into modulation centers is 1 graph location of stream. Sets cross line calculations. Sets line communication of diamond core. Sets lines of 0 operation center of travel calculations. Sets lines of kaleidoscope and communication centers. Travel direction of time sequence and pattern calculation. Direct calculation of Merkaba, tesseract, and your torque field set position of operation. Tesseract in the center position of its operation and 2 panels of communication to a rainbow graph screen location setting into a Rubik's Cube and 4 set locations of settings. Travel direction of time sequence, all position travel lines in 3 set locations. Center line communication is sun. Direct signals and set position of its operation surface and point system and set location. All right. Now, in direct signals, we come into the center line. Center line communication centers to its center position of its operation. Direct calculation line into Mother Earth. Sets line communications. There she is in travel calculations. Mother Earth. All right, so she's in the center calculation, the center position of operation, right? There's Mother Earth. Okay? Okay? Setting track line. Now, in direct center locations, I'm in the center operation. Remember, we're adding face recognitions, all right? This is me in travel, okay? That's me in travel. That's Mother. Set position locations of Father, direct signals. Father is position looking down in set location, right? Sets position location line centers, high calculation line center, high position locations. All line centers on the opposite line center line interference in high track location system and track calculation is Eve. It's all set up in track locations. Phase directions of time sequence in all positions of programs and all line calculation setting and all phase recognition line centers at 024 in set position location setting into 0144 in the track location setting into 144 in track location setting and position locations into all line centers into 1044 is all set position locations and all calculation line centers of Father, Mother, and Adam and Eve are now set in position of travel. All done by equation. Ooh-ah. All right. How does everybody feel about that set locations? All right, so we opened up that calculations of the BCs, and we come in line center location, the AC line settings. 2 travel line centers, each line rotation, right? Harvesting time sequence, pattern line centers, observation line cycles, square roots, square triangles, square line centers, high position roots operation, torqual fields, and both set location and settings. Now, this is where you come in your fractals and travel line rotation centers and calculations to your nanoseconds and high position line centers in modifications to new line settings in position travel calculation lines, intelligence, and set location. Done by equation. All right, so that's set up. You see what I'm doing? I'm setting up platforms of phase direction of timelines. The inner child has to be in a line setting. Now the 0 comes in 012. Sets position location of 024. Sets line calculations into 48. Sets lines of 72. And position of 144. And calculations of 2 panels of operation. So we take the 0 line, and we take the 0 line in 2 track locations. Half pipe, moon line, center line, communication line, circuits, and high position. Sets position on XT1000 in center position, right? Scans line calculation setting into 1, 2, 3 panels of operation. Direct calculation line centers is circle line communications. Now the center communication comes in a pi, direct signal location of 2 line centers and track locations. Sets position of 2, 2, and 2. Diamond core line centers, high position location setting to travel. Direct communication line centers into Jupiter in line rotation center of travel calculation of 2 waving patterns of set position. Sets position location of Neptune and center calculation center and position operation. Sets location all levels and high calculation high position of Mercury in line rotation. Sets calculation triangulation reset position of programs. Calculation line centers of 4 and set location line settings and position location setting. Crossing line signals, 4 line centers equals lines of 3 and 7 and operation service inner child position of programs and center communications all calculation. Done by equation. Full calculations of the inner child. We're done. So amazing what just happened, right? Try to understand the center communication to all levels of center calculation, right? How you come back in modification of your centers and travel calculations, all through face recognition. Okay? Father, mother, Adam, Eve. Okay? It's all set up. All right, so that's set up line calculation setting and it's all settings. Getting position travel lines, we have to really understand how this all works now. The calculation modification lines settings high interference. And again, we use the 42 tracks into all levels of 5 line settings and position locations of 58 locations, right? Travel calculations of 8, travel calculations of 8, travel calculations of 8, travel calculations light, split the anomaly, 9 interference, and 2 panels of communication setting and travel. So that puts position of 8 position of space, 8 positions of time. Sequence line calculation setting, waiting on signal at 2024, and line rotation of center at communication, right? So the center calculation lines of travel lines puts position line centers of 4 tracks, 2026, 2028, and 2030, waiting on position. Setting position line centers, sun communication to moon, line center location to moon of the sun, and track location setting, opens all signals, opens all panels, and all calculation. Okay, done by equation. You see how you set all line calculation setting, how it comes to Merkabah test or location of letters, numbers, shapes to form this equation location of centers of attraction. So we all have to understand how this all works and all position location, right? All right, so you have to really understand how this is connected to your modification line screens. So setting track lines of observation line cycles is all about repositioning your travel calculation setting. Okay, there's no blocking interference. Okay, it's just resetting your line connections all levels. Okay, so if you're trying to get through set location, this is about revamping, recalculating, remodifying back your line's original imprints and position of design, guys. Okay, so nobody's being blocked in line rotation interference. After the equation is done in line rotation interference, everything comes back in signal and position of modification. Okay, so that's all it is. Okay, it's because you're not understanding the high lines of communication, right? It's not the block interference, it's just the position of travel lines and the tri lines. Trifactors over pi, directing lines of communication, setting clockings, all right? So it's redirecting signal location system. After clock line centers, high position location your alphas, calculation lines of deltas, thetas, and position of megas. You go back in line centers, high position track calculations, all right? So don't worry about the third equation. Indirect signals, set position line calculations. This rate coming to 0 into position of 12, equal line calculations of beta. Welcome back, you're back in beta. Sets position of 0 and position of 24. Welcome back. You're in alpha communications. Setting track lines highest interference and position locations into 48. Set position of 0 and position of 72. And set position of 0. Set locations in 144. A track location. Now, directing calculation lines is 3 line centers and 3 line positions location of 4 settings. Track locations into 1, 2, 3 set locations. All right. So 012 of beta, 024 of alpha, 048 of delta, 072 line conditions of theta, and 0144 of omega communication of center calculations. All done by equation. It's all set up. So track communication lines of 20 sets position of 7 and set location line centers. Okay, done by equation. So we add the 2 lines in set locations of 21, 22, 23, and automatically line centers of 2 sets lines of 2024 at set location, right? This modifies your system in platitudes, sets lines of 4 track locations, okay? Direct lines of the sun and the moon and protects all communication line screens and all levels of operation line surface in position track line calculation, sending a graphical set location of travels. That equation, okay? So now you're back in your betas, but you're in position of 012. So what we've done is we just change your clock lines. You're no longer in position of 12 and 7, and you're in 012, 024, okay? You're in 048, and you're in 072, and 0144 of platform communications. That tracks the settings lines of 1, 2, 3, 4 set location of graphs of algorithms. Setting communication line centers in position to your system to open sequence. Pattern direction of time sequence puts all calculation modification in your settings in all travel direction of time. Position location your systems, this is where it comes in all calculations. So it's important you understand how this is all set up through your provisions. All calculated and modified when you come in travel calculation line centers, indirect signals, in position location your settings, all through calculation. Okay, of 333. So getting that position of graph line is really to understand how to use the platforms of 012, 024, 048, 072, and 144. It's all set up. The cerebral cortex lines, the 3 set location lines is set up. Position of 024 line calculation is set up. Calculation line center of 0 and position locations of 48 is set up. Position. Calculation of 072 is all set up. And 0144 and set location is set up. Travel. Set position of the sun, set position of the moon, set position of the sun, set position of the moon of 4 track locations. Center calculation streamlines and direct signal modification line screens. Sets position of sun and position of operation line calculations. Sets position of moon line centers calculation stream location. Sets position location operation of the sun, operation line settings, and bounds communication center of all operation surface and set location. Done by equation. Okay, but it's amazing how you set these things up through face recognition. Okay. All right. How's everybody feeling? Hey, how does it feel? All right. It's amazing what we're coming into, right? Yeah. See, it's all set up. So the inner child line connection is now in 024 and 0 line communication in 144. Right. Direct calculation line interference and team line center is in position location of 1044. Set locations and position travel lines into 0, 1, 44 track locations. Spacing lines, bracket line, calculation lines, and team line communication line centers and position location of space and time. Okay, so this is where it comes in track lines, indirect signal. The center communication of spacing line is now in 4 platforms. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, they're already set up. 4-dimensional door lines, screens, and set position with operation to setting of thought, direction, and time sequence. So 1044 is in the center communication setting in track location lines of 24-dimensional door settings. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 24 line in center interference location of travel. Okay, through 24-dimensional door settings and travel communications, and all setting and travel calculation. Now, directing lines of panels is center communication of sun and the moon, and track lines of spacing line indirect signal of 0 and 144. Direct calculation of 1044, the sun and the moon comes all track location line system and all calculation line setting into 1 million in position of 144. Okay, sets line calculation 1 million line calculation setting, sets position location line centers, 1 million tracks in line calculation setting, 0 operation line conditions of 4 track locations of center attraction. So 1 billion cycles, equal lines of 1 million cycles, sets lines of equal line communications, Merkaba up, Merkaba down, and center communications at center. Directing line calculation is 0 operation, and 4 generation of screens is set position in all levels, high calculation setting, solar graph calculation line streams, and center position is operation. That equation. All right. Cleared the land, number 4, turbulence. Concord, welcome. Yeah. See, that's what it is in our calculation line streams. So direct signals, modification line screens. This is where it gets really interesting. We set up a line position of 4, sets position of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Sets position locations and position line centers. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Sets position locations of 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Position location of 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. 3 lines, 3 communication, 3 centers, 3 operation, 3 balance. The set position operation. Now, graph and calculations, all point systems, and 4 line settings, and graph calculations algorithms. Setting positions of track lines. 1, 2, 3, 4 set location. Directing communication of the sun and the moon protects the system and triangulation to reset position of programs and set position is operation. Directing line calculation, modification lines, and triangulation to reset position of programs. Sales and communication settings and travel calculation is center of operation. Now, getting that set lines and highest interference puts lines of 4 equals lines of 3. That over parts, set position overcharge, overline direct signals into all levels into back original defaults, plans, and communication to the inner child of center communications of face recognition time sequence and 4 panels of communication. Now, position line centers, we take the 4 lines, we add line connections of 5 elements of space and time sequence: earth, water, fire, and air, and track location. Okay, directing signals. Now we come into modification line screens. Set position line centers, high interference. Coming in all calculation lines is 7-digit code screens. Setting position, operation, location, setting into all calculation. Fly direction time sequence comes in a box in position triangulation. Triangulation high center interference in a torical field. Set position, operation, surface, and center communication setting of operation location of center calculation. Intelligence, frame, directions. Done by question. All right, so that's set up. Now, getting position line calculation line setting is really understand how to use the 0 equal lines of 1969 and set position of operation. Setting position of travel lines of 0, equal lines of communication up, and position of center and line rotation center and calculation. Direct calculation line centers puts 2 operation line centers in position of 1 and 3 set locations, right? Set travel lines in position of 14 and lines of 15 in track locations. 3 lines in position of track calculations. Direct line calculation line interference of 2030, 2000, all line conditions of 2028, and sublocation of 2026, and 2000, and position of 2000. Line conditions of 2024. Sets lines at all position up platforms and all communication centers and all line rotation centers of future adaptation. Okay, that's all set. So that comes into pi, a position of travel. Okay. Direct calculation lines, we get an xt lines of 30 in position of travel. Now, in direct signals, we come into modification line screens into 1, 2, 3, 4 scans position of travel calculations. Now, directing line communication setting is a 0 operation, 2 operation lines, panels, and 3 settings calculation string location of center. Direct calculation line interference is its position location of scale lines, balanced position location lines at cavity walls. Travel lines of 4 set location line settings into thought direction of time sequence. Puts patterns in high position of dimensional doors of pi and calculation of string location. Done by equation. Okay. So it's important you understand how this is all set up. Okay. I want you to understand how it comes in modification of line calculation to 1 screens of operation. All right. 3 screens of line connections and 6 lines of operation setting. In position locations, here's the 6. Okay. There's the 6. Okay. So inline setting, inline rotation, in position locations. This is the correlations of the 9. Okay. There's the 6 and the 9. Okay. So in position line calculation, it comes in this line cycle, indirect signal to modification. Okay. Very complicated stuff. The center position of operations center, the center position of operations surface, and the magnetic highway information line settings and screen locations of operation location. Now, direct and communication line centers comes as a torque field. Now, the torque field comes in oracle line center location archetypes. Swinging line communications of voice line centers and high position location and high center interference. This is where we take the 24 trillion line cycles, calculation per frame per second, calculation line interference of minutes, position of programs, and hours of calculation. Direct calculation lines of sun and the moon and line surface and triangulation and reset position programs of center communications of operation. Done by equation. Okay. So it's amazing how all this is set up. Okay. How's everybody doing so far? What are we in position of? 24 are lines equal lines of 8. Okay. Is that coincidence? No. So we take the 8 line centers, take the 8 line rotation, 8 positions, 8 centers, and 8 calculation. All right. Remember, you're using the clock lines. This is how you change positions back in time. Center communication, center operation, center communication. Right. Sets calculation of past, sets position location of present, and position of future line. Sets calculation of future equals lines calculations of the now. Okay. Directing line calculation lines. Panel communication location grids. Sets travels and communication. Direct calculation line centers into portals of communication lines of realms and portals of communication. Okay. Direct calculation line centers, we take the 8 line channels, 8 line division, 8 line rotation, 8 line centers and travel calculations. Directing lines of magnetic highway information lines of panels and clouds and calculation centers of operation. Direct calculation line interference comes in all future now. Sets position travel calculation line centers and travel communication. Now, in direct signal, we set up another location grid. Sets cross line screens and set location line centers in 3 set lines and high centers, 2 tracks, 2 positions, and 2 operation surface. Now, directing calculation line centers, we bring in X2000 and panel communication at the top. Direct lines scans position of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 set location of travels. That by equation, right? So the scale measures and position of the octahedron is now set up in the decahedron, location hexagonal. Calculate high interference into triorthogon. The triorthogon communication to the paradigm, position of paraline, shift line, position of portals, and communication line settings and location grids is now set up as this operation line center location of 024, 048, 072, and 0144, and track location setting and travel. Travels and line rotation center is now in position of track calculation setting and phase direction of time sequence. Puts patterns in position at all levels. This all levels its communication setting and position of travel lines. Box lines, 2 lacing lines of communications, right? T receptors and set locations, right? Box line rotation center and travel communications in position of 4 track locations, right? Sets lines of communication as center lines, high calculation setting, and Fibonacci line rotation center and travel. Direct signals in 3 set locations in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in set position. So the center comes in, protects the system security line, and direct signals at phase direction of time sequence in all levels of panel communication. That might go. All right. Signify, indirect signal, all levels, crossing streams, directing lines of communication of point systems. All right. Point system location, 3 settings. All right. Higher self, avatar, and sim, and position of 024. Sets position location of 144. Sets position location into 144. Sets track lines calculation and high interference of 1044. And set location of travel. Okay. Now, really understand the pi direction of time sequence. Sets position locations in pi of time sequence. Sets correlations of 1 line into 024. Track locations into 0 operation of 0 line communication. Sets position of 4 generates and line calculations setting the 2 travel communications. Directing lines of systematic line calculation at 0 operation center. Sets position location systematic line of 1 and position of 2 panels of communication. Sets position lines of dimensional sail, solar sail, and travel communication settings on all platforms of communications of pi and dimensional door line sequence of open panels and communication of frames and high calculation line settings on open windows and open communications in all line centers of all operation of fields. Done by equation. We're done. That's it. Fields operators, congratulations. It's all done. You all did it. All right, so you can see exactly what we did through all frame communication setting. All set location travel lines. Hooah! Okay. So much fun doing this and set location of travel settings in all directions. Know exactly how to set things to location of its equation. How does everybody feel? Woo! Hey Mario! Hey Luigi! Wow! So, does anybody have any questions on that? It was fun, wasn't it? Because now you exactly were in 1 line centers, a 2-track location of 4 line centers, and 21 line interference of 8 line interference, infinity line centers, and thumbs up communication setting attractions. Okay, it's all done. All through equation. All right. So frame lines, the high center line center interference is getting your position cell levels to your original design and position location in Merkaba, your tesseract, and your tetrahedron, and all set locations of balance. All track lines and your clock lines in the future of the now. Stay tuned for more. Adios.